Hey everyone, this is Bob McIntosh from Mass Hire Lowell Career Center. I'm here with Wendy Schoen. She is going to be talking about 9 things you're probably doing wrong in your job search. She's an expert. She is a recruiter in the legal industry, but she's recruited in other industries as well. And so I welcome Wendy. Wendy, welcome.
Hello.
All right. So before I go any further, would you all look over to your right where you can raise your hand, ask questions, and well, there is no PDF to download, but if there were, then you could download the PDF. So could you raise your hand if you can hear and see both Wendy and me? Or would you write in the question box if you can hear and see us? All right, I got someone.
I don't see anything.
Yes, thank you. All right, Connie, Susan, Sherry, Daphne, great. Hey, Daphne, how are you? Okay,
I don't
excellent.
see anything.
They can hear and see us.
I
We're
don't see
good.
anything, so I'm
All
glad you
right.
did.
Okay, so, Wendy and I got together before this and we came up with some things that you may be doing right or wrong in your job search. And Wendy's going to shine some light on what you could do instead of what you may be doing wrong. Let me begin with first introducing her formally. And Wendy Schoen is the CEO and managing marketer of Schoen Legal Search. And she has been in the legal search field since 1993. She places a wide variety of attorneys into law firms, corporations, and consulting firms. Wendy's clients range from major international law firms to startup companies to international, let me lower us, Fortune 10 companies. Now, Wendy and I know each other from LinkedIn. Basically, every guest speaker I've had so far, I've known through LinkedIn. And we've had a really long and really, I think, an enjoyable relationship on LinkedIn. Wouldn't you say so,
Yeah.
Wendy?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. The way I would characterize Wendy on LinkedIn is that she's a real curator of information, and she's
Yep.
always providing great comments on anything anyone writes, and she writes great content herself. So without any further ado, let's look at number 1, and you're panicking. You've got this. Wendy, what do you have to say about this?
Um, Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to find themselves without jobs as a result of this
Yep.
lovely virus. Some of you are losing your jobs because your company's gone under, or some of you are losing your jobs because your company is downsizing,
Mhm.
or some of you are choosing to leave your jobs because it no longer fits with your new lifestyle, because you now have new responsibilities,
Right.
because you're new now at home taking care of your children going to school. So um, there are different reasons why you are now without a job or about to be without a job. And first reaction is, oh my God, now what do I do?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And some of, if you've lost your job, you also have depression that's put into that, as well as panicking.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are panicking because now you have one less income coming in, or you think to yourself, I'm going to blow my brains out if I'm going to sit in this house all day long. There's all sorts of panic that goes along with now being unemployed when you spent the last 10 years, 15 years, 30 years being employed.
Right.
Your
Yep.
first reaction is panic. But as someone who has been through downsizing in different, I mean, this is not the first market retraction or the first market bust or
Right.
anything like that. And people get through them and the market recovers. There was one in 88. There was one in 91. There was one in 99. There was one in 2008. So
Yeah.
the
Right.
point is, the market recovers, people recover. The difference is, you may not be doing what you have been doing for the last 10 years. And so don't panic. Just take a deep breath.
Right.
Take a deep
Absolutely.
breath and calm yourself down.
Yeah. And talking about LinkedIn, I read an article from Jack Kelly. Maybe you read it as well, Wendy. And what it said was basically go into any situation, whether it's networking or an interview, thinking, I got this. I
Oh no.
really do. You need to sort of draw up that confidence that may be low, but he basically said, you got this. And of course, there's going to be some research to go along with doing well in an interview, but I think that's what we're talking about here is the mindset of, you got this. You can
Right.
do it.
Because if you go into if you go into any step from here on, panicked, desperate, desperation, that shows up in everything you do, whether it's you're sending out an email to somebody because you want some information from them, or if you're in the middle of an interview. It's all over your body shape, your body, the way you're carrying your body, the answers that you're giving. If you are desperate or panicked, it shows. So you've got to realize and calm yourself and get a hold of yourself and realize something will work out. And as soon as you can get yourself to that point, the rest of it is just work.
All
It's just
right.
work to get there.
Hmm.
That's all.
I like the points you make about, we've had setbacks in the past. We've had a great recession in 2008, and we're going to get past this. We really are. So let's go on to the next one.
Yep.
This one is a little less, emotional, but the next one is you misunderstand the recruiter's role. What do you have to say about that, Wendy?
Okay, so everybody's reaction is twofold. Your first reaction is, "Oh my God, I've got to answer, I've got to get my resume out there, I've got to answer some job ads, I got to get some interviews." So, or it's, "Let me call a recruiter and get them working for me, and then I'm going to get a job and everything will be fine." Well, first of all, a recruiter's job is not to get you a job. Everybody misunderstands the recruiter's role in the whole job search process. The recruiter's role is not to get you a job. Recruiter's role is to fill a job opening given to them by their client, which is the hiring entity. Their job is not to get you a job. So if you say, "Well, let me call up Susie Q. She's a recruiter in my industry. I'll call her, send her my resume, and she'll get me a job right away."
No, doesn't work that way.
No. And if you call them once, if you call them twice, if you send them your resume once, if you send them, unless your resume matches a job that they currently have in front of them or in their house or in their office, they're either not going to call you back or they're going to throw your resume away. And they're not being rude to you. They're not ghosting you. They're not ignoring you. The reality is, answering your email, answering your phone call takes minutes from their day. And the minutes that they spent answering you are minutes that they are not working on things that will make them money. And things that will make them money is their job. And that's how they make their living. That's what puts food on their table. Answering your email or answering your phone call does not put food on their table. So
Can
they're
I
not
ask
going
you
to
a
call
question
you.
though, Wendy? You
Sure.
mentioned something about ghosting. And I do believe that when you send in a resume as a job seeker and you do not get a call back from a recruiter, that is not ghosting. But what is ghosting is if you start to develop a correspondence and some action takes place, and then all of a sudden the recruiter goes dark, or even the
Yes.
job seeker for that
Yes.
matter, that is ghosting. Can you
Absolutely.
can you
Absolutely.
explain to
The
us, can
people.
you explain to the audience what other things make the recruiter's job difficult? Like
Okay. So,
maybe
but my
from the
point
hiring
is,
manager's side.
okay. But my point is, people think that if they send a resume into an ad that was up, and they sent the resume in for that specific ad, and they don't hear back, people think that's ghosting. That's not ghosting. You're
Mhm.
absolutely right. What is ghosting is if we have had a conversation and I say to you that I'm going to submit you for a specific job, and then you never hear from me ever
Right.
again,
Wrong.
that's
Right.
ghosting.
Yeah,
That's
that's wrong.
ghosting.
But you have to admit though, it does happen on the job seeker side as well, right?
Of course it does.
And I'm not
Because
putting blame on job seekers because I know that, they may have offers from two different companies and they just maybe they can't face calling you, Wendy, and saying, look, Wendy, I decided to go with firm A, rather than your firm. Maybe they just can't face, maybe they don't
okay,
want to give you rejection.
it's fine. But you know
That's
what?
fine. You'd rather
If
have
I
that,
spend
right? You'd rather
time,
have that rejection. Yeah.
I'd rather you call me and tell me that you don't want to work with me. That's fine. You have a
So,
right to say that, but let me know.
yes. So Chrissy says, great question and clarifying on ghosting. By the way, folks, if you have any questions, then just please shoot them out and we'll try to get them in. I do believe that ghosting has been a hot topic, at least on LinkedIn. Um, Andy Seaman, he actually interviewed me and wanted my opinion on ghosting, and Wendy and I are on the same page in terms of that. So, if you have any questions, then please shoot them out and Wendy will try to answer them. Let's see. Lots of ghosting now in COVID times. Yeah. So again, Wendy and I are not saying it's right. I mean, Wendy's definitely not saying it's right. But it depends on your definition of ghosting, I guess. Ready for number 3? Okay. You don't have a plan for your job search.
So basically, what I said was your immediate reaction should not be to call a recruiter asking them to get you a job, nor should your immediate reaction be to immediately find the closest job board and throw your resume at everything that you can possibly see.
Right.
And there's a lot of reasons why. First of all, the resume that you've put together in under pressure, you've put together in a slapdash made horrible way. It probably isn't in the format that is today's format, which by the way is completely different. It changed 2 years ago from the 100 years past, so your format is probably wrong. And most ads go directly to an applicant tracking system. So if your resume isn't set up in the proper format, the applicant tracking system will reject it before it gets seen by a person. If by some measure you happen to get past the applicant tracking system to a person, the likelihood is your resume is one of 800 that made it through, and the likelihood is that yours is number 776. And the likelihood is that whoever is looking at those resumes, they are not going to look at all 800. They probably, if you're lucky, going to look at the top 100.
Are you saying of the resumes that are sent in, are they being ranked?
No, just if they get through, they get put into a huge pile.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're lucky, yours probably fell into the pile somewhere around number 700. Just,
Wow.
you know, pick
Right.
up sticks, throw them in the air, put them into a pile. Yours landed at spot number 776. And the person who's looking at them is going to take this pile of 800, put them on their desk, take number 1, look at it, yes, no, whatever. Take number 2, and they're going to get tired of that by the time they've gone through 100. Because by the time they've gone through 100, they have a decent number to take on to the next step. And they're going to
So,
look
but
at that pile.
I'm sorry, what's the alternative? What should their plan be? I mean, if they don't have a plan for the job search, what should it be?
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why you have to have a plan.
Hmm.
Because just willy nilly, answering job search ads, that's
Right.
what's going to happen. That's what I'm saying. If you don't have a plan and you just willy-nilly answer job ads, that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
So
And I think
that's
we're going to talk about the answer to that later on. But in any case, I got one question here. Why are there so many recruiters out of state?
why do we have to be in state?
True. Why do you have to be in state? So I guess, and I've heard this frustration before, as I've heard the frustration of maybe a job seeker not, understanding not understanding the accent of the recruiter.
Ah, you're not talking about local
No,
domestic.
we're not talking local. No.
Okay. I can't answer that for you because
Yeah.
if a company is um, not respecting their candidates enough
Hmm.
to utilize a recruiter that the candidates can understand, and that my reaction to that is, if the company is utilizing recruiters that you can't understand, you really don't want to work for that company.
True. And another person writes, how do you get to the hiring manager? We got a lot of tough questions here. Do you want to save that for later or?
Say that for later.
Okay, save that for later. Okay, number 4. You don't understand your value.
Okay, so this is part of the plan. If you don't know your value, how can you sell yourself?
Mm, okay.
Understand that a job search is, and when you create a resume and you create a LinkedIn profile, you are creating the marketing materials to sell a highly valuable widget.
Hmm,
And you're the widget. Okay. But if you don't understand your own value, how can you sell the product?
true, true.
So, what you need to do is you need to figure out what is your value. So, you need to figure out what you're good at, what you're superior at, and what other companies are looking for that you have to offer.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And not only what companies are looking for that you have to offer, but what companies are looking for that only you have to offer,
Hmm.
or that you have to offer better than anybody else.
But how would a job seeker know what a company wants?
Well, you've been doing a job, right? And
Yeah.
you know what, you have an idea of, well, that's what I was talking about earlier. You have to think about what kinds of things, what, don't just think about your job. Think about what it is that you do. Do you manage people? Do you
Hmm.
interact with people? Think about just what it is that makes up the things that you do that you're good at.
Right.
And then I would go on to LinkedIn, and I would look for people who do those kinds of things, not necessarily by title,
Hmm.
and see if you can find people who do similar kinds of things,
Okay.
and read their job descriptions. What's their title say?
Hmm.
And then you can look for jobs with that title and see if other people are doing those kinds of jobs
Right.
with those kinds of skills. Well, goody. That gives you new jobs to look for, new job ads to look for.
So once you found
That's how you
someone who does
really
the
answer
same
the
type of work that you do and you like their profile, you think that it really sells them, is it okay to use just not verbatim, but is it okay to maybe list some of the same accomplishments that you have? Again, not
Well,
verbatim.
nobody has the same accomplishments. You
True.
can you can look at their accomplishments and say, okay, well, I've kind of done that, but there's no way that you've done every single one of them. Okay, so you can
Yeah.
take an accomplishment from John and an accomplishment from Mary and try and put them together into something that together, all of these people's different accomplishments, a bullet point from everybody put together, really speaks
Mm.
to you. Why not? You can't take someone's whole profile,
No,
a bit here,
absolutely
a bit
not.
here, a bit
No.
here, a bit here. Oh, and by the way, when you're setting up your profile, go into
Uh-huh.
settings. Go into settings. Everybody listen up. Go into settings on your profile. If you look, there's a spot that says Microsoft Word. Say no.
Okay, yes. I was gonna
Say
say, where are
no.
you going with this? No, no. Yeah.
Microsoft owns Resume Assist. And if you don't say no in your settings, that allows someone who has Microsoft Resume Assist to go in and look at the way you've done your profile and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I like his profile. I think I'll take it."
Okay, I got one really interesting question here, and that is there a difference for us in working with an in-house recruiter as opposed to a separate recruiting firm?
Absolutely.
Well, what would that be? Or
An
many, I
in-house,
mean,
if you,
what would the
if
most,
you, okay, um, an in-house recruiter only has jobs at that company,
hmm
anywhere at that company. So that's great. If you have made friends with an in-house recruiter that they are looking for jobs for you and at anywhere in the big umbrella company, that's terrific. Definitely, if you can get an in-house recruiter to say, I'm going to help you find a job, excellent,
hmm
excellent. I'm on the outside. I'm trying to get a company, two companies, three companies, four companies. I don't work for a company. I
Right,
work for my
right.
company. Okay. I usually try and get that in house recruiter to want to take you on.
hmm
That's the difference.
Oh,
But
okay.
also
So
have
you're
the
not always dealing directly with the, say, the hiring manager or the, one of the members of the firm.
it
You may be
depends.
dealing with the in-house recruiter.
Right.
So that's another layer that, a job seeker needs to get through.
It
Okay.
depends. It depends who's got the power.
Oh, meaning what? The recruiter may have the power? The internal recruiter?
The internal recruiter may have the power, the
Hmm.
hiring manager has, it depends on the size of the company, it depends on the complexity of the company. You know, some of the people that are my contacts are the general counsel. Sometimes it's the chief compliance officer.
Yeah,
Sometimes I have to go in through the talent acquisition people. It depends on who's got the power
right,
at the
right.
company.
So here's a question. I know we're getting sidetracked by these great questions, but what's the most important thing to mention on your resume or cover letter? The one thing you should never forget. That's kind of a difficult answer to give.
Um,
Is it more of the tone or is it more the voice of the cover letter that really attracts your attention as a recruiter? Or is it a cover letter that speaks to every need the company has?
I don't want to talk. I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to see desperation.
hmm
Second of all, I definitely don't want to see someone say I'm a jack of all trades.
Oh, yeah.
Don't say that ever, because
Is that one of those cliches you just hate to read?
yeah,
Yeah.
um, people. I mean, God help me. When I was said many years ago, I used to say that I was a jack of all trades because mean, hell, I can learn anything in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I can do it. But they don't like to see that because that means that you're not committed to anything, that you don't have um, uh, a desire to stay with you're just and also that means that you really haven't developed an in-depth knowledge of anything that would make me want to pick you over somebody
Right. True.
else.
True. Yeah.
So, I mean, once you've been hired by a company and you've been working there for a while, you can let managers in different departments know that you really are a jack of all trades and you can work your way into their department or work your way into that department.
Yeah.
But coming into a company, don't say that. People don't like to see, recruiting coordinators don't like to see that. Anyway, you should know your value because you have become an expert at this, or you have you created that. You created this kind of a system that managed to save this kind of money, or you streamlined that, or
Right.
something that would make the hiring company
Yeah. Sure. Give examples.
look at you and see.
Sure.
Yeah,
Rather than
you want
just
to
tell.
give examples of what you've accomplished,
Right.
so they
Right.
can see that they may not want you to create another system, but what they see is that you saw a problem and created a system to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they may not be hiring you for the system that you've already created, but the fact that you saw a problem and
Mm-hmm.
created a system to fix the problem, the mentality is what they're looking at.
And it actually fixed the problem.
Yes,
Right. Okay.
and it actually worked, and people are still using it. So, uh, but it's the mentality that they like, that you saw something, saw it was a problem, went out to
Right.
create something to fix it, and it worked and it fixed it. So,
Okay. Number 5.
sorry, guys.
Don't worry. You're not networking and utilizing social media.
So, here's the thing. 4 years ago, I looked at LinkedIn and I said, so I hate social networking. I really hate Facebook.
Yeah.
Hate
It
Facebook.
never happened with me, but go ahead.
But then I said to myself, well, if I'm going to do this, I really have to do this. So I decided to start getting onto LinkedIn. And so what I started doing was I had a small feed and I started reading what people said, and I started responding, and I
Mhm.
started sharing what they said
Yep.
with my little small network and commenting on things, not just saying like, but I said like, and I commented why I liked it and why I didn't like it and what I thought it should have, what could be. And then I started reading papers, the newspapers in the jargon newspapers in my field. And I
Mhm.
started posting articles that I thought were important for my
Right.
field on my feed, and commenting on why I thought they were important and how they were important
Exactly.
to my business and my field. And I started doing more. And I started doing more, and people started commenting, and people started reaching out to me, and slowly but surely, I got more people, and then I reached out to them and what things that they were posting. And if they
Right.
posted long articles, I would read their articles, and I would comment
Yeah.
on what they said
You're,
in
you're
their
excellent.
field,
Yeah.
and their content, and what it meant to me and my field. And it grew and it grew and it grew. And I met Bob that way, and I met a whole bunch
Yep.
there. So now I have I have a very wide ranging network, but I also have this nice inner core network of people that are career oriented,
Yeah.
or LinkedIn guru type oriented, or LinkedIn process oriented, or teaching how LinkedIn can work,
Right.
or are
Exactly.
executive coaches that will teach you how you can grab and learn your value, or grab and learn and approach uh, companies to get around it, or how to go about and approach people you don't know that you want to try and add to your network? Or how do you go about reaching out to people at target companies that you don't know? What do you say to them? How do you go about reaching out to them? So it's a nice inner core network
Yeah.
made up of interesting professionals at the different corners of the career process.
So
And
let me interrupt if I could. So I know that some of the audience out there is having a hard time really building a network on LinkedIn. They feel like maybe they're out of their realm, maybe that it's too difficult to really build a strong network. Are you saying that, one doesn't necessarily have to come before the other? In other words, you can start commenting on other people's posts or articles, and then those people may, they may notice you, and then, who knows, maybe they may accept your invitation. Is that
yep,
what you're saying?
yep,
Because I do notice that you are on LinkedIn almost daily, and you're
yep.
always making great comments on people's posts, but you will tell it how it is, Wendy. You will.
Sorry.
I've been on the other end of that one. Okay, so yeah, and so if I may, what frustrates me is that job seekers aren't really using their voice the way they can on LinkedIn. But but it's not only about LinkedIn. What about in-person networking?
Yes.
What do we
So
do about that?
so when you look, especially now when we can't meet people in person, now you can, if someone reaches out to you and wants to connect with you, and you find that there's somebody that you either want to add to your network because they are uh, someone that will expand your reach of
Mhm.
people in your business world, you can ask to do a virtual coffee. You can ask to do a virtual a
Mm.
cocktail with them, and you can do on Zoom. You can actually meet them and chat with them. They can or cannot be people who will advance your career. They can just be people that's going to expand your network.
Sure, sure,
Um,
sure.
Let me tell you something. They're talking now about the fact that at least 80% of people are finding jobs through networking, not
Yeah,
through recruiters, not through job ads, through networking. And that doesn't mean that necessarily the person that you meet is the person who's going to get you your job. You meet people, you expand your network, you talk to the company, your company, your competitor for the last 20 years. Maybe you meet 10 people from there that got laid off, and now that you're all in the same boat, now you're friends, and you start talking to them, and maybe you set up a coffee every 3 weeks, and you all get together on Facebook and you chit chat, and you don't talk about job
mhm.
search, you just talk.
Sounds
And
like a buddy group.
yeah, and a buddy group.
Yeah.
And before you know it, everybody's brought somebody else. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've got 4 different, they call them networking groups, but
Mhm.
they're all just chit chat groups because nobody talks about job search. Everybody talks about, oh, so what happened to you this week? What happened to you? And we meet every week. And there are weird times during the day, and we all just talk, and not one of them has anything to do with job search.
Yeah, but you're not looking, well, you are
No,
looking
no, no.
for
But what I'm
clients, so you
saying
are
is,
looking for work. But what about people who are looking for
wait,
work?
but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Or you might run into your baseball team from high school, and you all get
Mhm.
together and you grab a beer, so to speak, and catch up on
Yeah.
old times. And then
A virtual
one of
beer,
those
right?
friends goes to Thanksgiving and gets together virtually with his family, and
Uh,
they're chit chatting, and one of them says, "God, I've been having the hardest time. I cannot find a project manager that I like." And across the table they go, "Really? One of my friends is a project manager. He's looking for a job."
right, right, right.
That is how jobs are getting filled.
Hmm. Through
Networking.
networking.
It's not
Yeah.
because the person you're talking to has the job, but the person is talking to someone else who's talking to someone else who's talking to someone else. I mean, I was at a conference and I talked to one of the gentlemen was speaking, and he was somebody that I wanted to get to know because he was a
Yeah.
great candidate, potential
Mhm.
candidate. So I left my spot and I went over and I introduced myself and I got his card and we agreed that we were going to talk next week. And after I dragged myself home at the end of it, because I was a sponsor, so I had all these projection things that I had to drag home. Finally got home, walked the dog, got into bed. I'm watching the news or whatever. And now it's like 10 o'clock at night and my phone rings. And I'm like, oh, really? Answered the phone. It was the guy I just met. He said to me, am I disturbing you? Of course not. You're not disturbing me.
Right, right.
He said, I'm here having dinner and drinks with this guy I've known for 100 years. And he tells me that he's looking for a job. Can I have him call you in the morning? I was like, sure. He goes, okay. His name is, he's going to give you a call in the morning. You don't mind, do you? I was like, of course not. I placed that guy.
Yep.
So,
You got
through,
to roll with it, huh? You have to roll with
exactly.
it.
The
Okay, I
old
need to
school is
sneak
through a
one
lemon,
one
you meet a peach.
need to sneak
Through a
one
lemon,
question in here because they're kind of zipping by. How
sorry.
much do companies actually use LinkedIn for recruiting? I only use it to see if I know somebody at the company or know somebody who knows somebody and blah, blah, blah.
They're not,
How much time
they
should
are
I put
not
into my
using
profile?
LinkedIn.
What's that?
They're not using LinkedIn to find people. Okay. I use LinkedIn to find people, but once they have someone that they are interested in,
Hmm.
then they look that person up on LinkedIn.
You mean the recruiters?
Recruiters, managers,
Yes.
whatever.
Right.
Okay. That's for sure. But I will do my searching on LinkedIn for
Hmm.
candidates. And I
Do
will
you use
tell
any
you
kind of
that,
recruiter package or do you just use a search
oh
engine?
no, I have the highest level recruiter package.
Oh, you do. Okay. All right.
Yeah. But um,
God, we could talk about that all day then. I'd love to know more about that, but go ahead.
um, that's where I look first. I look
Yeah.
on recruiter first, and I start from there.
Okay.
And I find it a sin when I come up across when someone's profile, for whatever reason, has tickled my search parameters
Mhm.
so that they show up in my search. And then when I look at them, they have bare bones in their profile.
Not impressed, are you?
Bare bones. No about section, no nothing.
Yeah.
Bare bones that this is their title from work, and this is where they work, then this is where they work, and this is where they went to school, and that's it. And I look at them and I go, and I look at the profile and I go, stupid.
See, this is your answer. The person who asked the question, you have to build a strong profile because someone like Wendy is going to come across you and see, something great rather than just bare bones.
Because if you've got bare bones, there's nothing for me to look at. There's nothing
Right.
for me to decide whether I want to put you into the call pile or the throwaway pile. Because if you've got nothing on your profile and it's bare bones, guess where you're going? The garbage
In the
pile.
garbage or the don't read pile.
I don't have
Okay.
the time to go and look and explore you any further.
You ready for number 6?
Absolutely.
Okay. This one is not reaching out to target companies.
Okay, so this is the second part of using LinkedIn.
Hmm.
In addition to doing your generalized networking, well, your targeted networking,
Yeah.
uh, the uh, coaches are all talking about think about 5 to 10 companies that you'd like to work for. Okay.
Yep.
And then
Absolutely.
start with 5. You can always build up. Then what you need to do is you need to, on LinkedIn, you need to identify who is the the head of recruiting,
Hmm.
who is the head of whatever department it would be that you would be working in or that you would want to work in.
Right. Right.
Um, those are the two most important people. And then you want to identify anybody that you know who works at the company.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to identify anybody in your network might be a first level recruiting
Right.
contact with at the company. And that's the list of people at the company that you want to work on reaching out to.
True.
Why?
And to your point, I was sitting with a client the other day and he said, okay, this is a list of companies that I'm looking at. Can we go through your, can we go through your profile and see if you know anyone, if you're first degree connections? So that's what you're talking about in terms of someone knowing someone who knows someone at the company.
Now, why? 2 reasons. Companies prefer hiring people they know.
Sure. Yeah.
As opposed to somebody completely from the outside. So when the the recruiting head comes out of her office and says, okay, I just spoke to hiring manager X, and he wants to hire a new project manager. Does anybody know anybody who fits the bill before I put it out on the street? Anybody got any project manager friends? That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming she herself or he himself didn't have a project manager friend to fill the job first.
Because they want to know, they want to get a referral, right? That's what it comes down to.
Yes, but they also prefer somebody known rather than somebody unknown, because somebody known is less likely to blow their stack, is less likely to be someone who doesn't fit in, is less likely to be somebody who doesn't work out. It's easier. It shortens the hiring process. Instead of being 3 months to fill a job, now it's 2 weeks. Do you have any idea how expensive it is to hire one person? Companies spend a fortune to hire one person. So if they can
30% of the person's first annual salary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they can hire in 2 weeks rather than a month, or they don't have to hire a recruiter to do it, unbelievable. So you want to get to know the recruiter. You want to get to know anybody you can in the process. You're like light years ahead. So this is also the second half of hiring people you know, or through friends, or through referrals, as opposed to through a recruiter or through an ad.
That makes me think of a question, and that is, what if someone approaches you and says, Wendy, I don't see any jobs that are available, and but I do have a list of companies I'm interested in. Will you talk with me? Will you put me on your list of possibilities? Do you ever do that?
If they're within my network, I will help them. If they're not within my network, I will not.
Okay.
Look,
all right.
The truth of the matter is that people ask to connect with me all the time. And the only reason they want to connect with me is they want access to my network.
Right.
I get requests from other recruiters at least twice a week.
Yeah.
Because they want access to my network.
Would you say that if someone were to reveal people also viewed, on someone's profile, people, you think
get rid of that?
Get rid of that. That's their competition, isn't it?
Right. So that's the other thing in your settings that you have to get rid of. Why in God's name would you apply for a job and then say to the people that are looking at you, saying, oh, by the way, if you don't like me, here are other people that you can look at instead.
Competition, yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay. All right. We ready for number 7?
Absolutely.
Okay. Not preparing for interviews.
Okay. If you are lucky enough to get an interview, why in God's name would you go in there naked? Because that's what you're doing if you haven't prepared for that interview.
Did you say
You're
naked?
naked, because
Ah,
that's what you're doing if you
right.
haven't
Yeah. Yeah.
prepared for the interview.
Hmm.
And I'm not talking about reading those lists that other people put out that say, here are the answers to all of these questions. Memorize them and you'll be fine. Don't memorize any pre-prepared answer, because then you come across looking like you memorize pre-prepared answers. No.
Well, what about the weakness question? I mean,
Well,
some people still get that.
I know. And I'll tell you how to answer that in a minute. That's not a pre-prepared answer.
Mm,
Okay, so here's the things you need to do to prepare for an interview, whether it's on Zoom or not, but we'll do that too. Here's the things you need to do. First of all, look up the company.
mm-hmm.
Look up anything you can find about the company. If
Thank you.
they're a
Yes.
public company, read, look up, where is their stock? Where have they been for the last month? Are they on an
If they're public.
upward projection or are they on a downward?
Right.
It's in the news. Are they in trouble? Are they not in trouble with the SEC?
Hmm.
Look it up. Basic information. What does the company do?
Mm-hmm.
What does the company do for a living? Okay? Big things. Is the company domestic only or international as well?
So what
I
would
mean,
your response be
basic.
if you were to ask me, so what do you know about our company, Bob? And I were to say, not really. I didn't have a chance to do the research.
Gone.
Yeah.
I don't care how well you did in the interview. If you haven't looked up the basic information about the company, you don't care enough to have done
Sure.
research on
Sure.
the company before the interview. You will not make it through the interview. And basically, the minute you say that, the interview's over.
Okay. Now let's you said you were going to talk about the weakness question.
Okay. It's sad. Well, wait, before I get there, you want to talk about yourself? Wait. I'm going to talk in generalities about
Okay.
the things that you should be prepared to answer, not specific questions. They're going to want to know about you. Who are you? So, no. Do they want to know that that you walked 25 miles back and forth to school in your bare feet in the wintertime like Lincoln did? No. Skip over, give them a quick background of who you are.
Yeah.
They want to know who you are professionally, how you got to where you are, and why you're looking. Quick and dirty.
Yeah.
They want to know what's making why you want to leave, or why you are here today.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
Uh,
Yeah.
so you need to be able to have, you need to be able to tell a story, basically what it is. So,
Mhm.
here I was, here I'm going, here I am, this is what I'm looking for. However you want to be able to tell the story, be be prepare for your interview.
Yeah.
Get used to telling a story. That's what they want to hear. It's an easier way of answering questions if you can tell a story. Okay? Not
Hmm.
quick answers that you have memorized from online. Just tell a story. Okay? If they
Okay.
ask you what your biggest weakness is, you can say, wow, you're asking that question. Okay. Um, what's my biggest weakness? I hate that question.
I hate it too.
Uh,
But they're getting it. Our audience is getting that question.
oh Lord.
Someone wrote always.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if recruiters just ask it because they don't know of any better questions to ask.
That's what it boils down to is they first of all, they have no business being a recruiter, I mean, an interviewer.
Seriously.
What's your biggest weakness? First of all, don't say that you're a perfectionist.
Oh no, I
Please.
know. Oh yes.
God, please
You
don't
and I
say
are on the
that.
same page on that one, sister. Absolutely.
Please don't say that. That's the worst answer you could give. Um, There's no right answer to that question. Um, you definitely don't want to say I don't take direction well, because that's a bad answer.
No, no.
Um, there is no right answer to that. There
You've
just
never
is.
heard the right answer?
No.
No?
Did you?
I mean, I've heard people dance around it like crazy. I don't know if I've actually heard one that really showed any kind of self-awareness, any kind of honesty, but not enough so that it would really kill them. You know what I mean?
No. You just want to avoid anything that sounds canned. You want
Yeah.
to avoid anything that sounds um, supercilious. You want to avoid anything that sounds like you can't be managed.
Hmm.
Um,
No, yeah, that would be stupid to say. Hmm. All right.
you could sort of be cute. You could say, "What's your biggest weakness?" Is I desperately want to go back to work in the office.
All right. Ready for number 8? Someone said, say chocolate. And I think if someone said that to me, I'd be like, no, come on. What is your greatest weakness? If I were going to ask that question. Someone writes, my biggest weakness is that I tend to overwork myself. Oh, are we talking about maybe someone who's going to burn out?
Yeah,
When I would
that's
face with
like
a
that's
deadline
like
and I don't
that's
know
like
how to
sucking up.
accomplish the task, you know, I just
Yeah,
thought more time
overworking,
and energy at it and sometimes burn myself out. Oh,
overworking. That's a suck up answer.
I know. Well, that and also it can be a concern. It can be a concern.
Yeah,
Someone wrote, I once said I don't have one.
that's
Everyone's got a
also,
weakness.
ooh,
Everyone's got a
everybody's
weakness.
got a
At
weak.
least one. I know I have 5 or 10 weaknesses, but in any case. Um, okay, next one, number 8. Not answering tough interview questions. Well, I mean, this is similar to what we've been talking about, but what I'm really getting at, and the weakness one is a tough interview question,
Yes, it is.
but I mean, what are, first of all, coming from a recruiter, what are you looking for in an answer? I mean, look, what are
Sometimes
you,
it's not obvious.
I'm sorry?
Okay. Sometimes it's not obvious. Sometimes it's not the answer itself,
What
but
do you
how
mean by
you
that?
got to it. So, when you hear all these questions that recruiters are saying, how many, um, the one I heard lately is the most ridiculous one. When the one I heard lately about, how many bubbles in a bar of soap,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
uh, it's not it's not the answer they're looking for, it's how you go about trying to figure out how to get to the answer
Oh, for
that
those
you're
for
interested in.
those tricky questions, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or, when you're trying to figure out how many boxes of cereal does it take to fill up a tub?
Yeah, they just want to know your thought process. But what about behavioral based questions? Do you think those are tough?
Like what?
Like, tell me about a time when you were able to lead a team in a project
Yes,
that really
those
helped the
are
company.
very important. They're going to ask you a question about, tell me about a time when you had to lead a team. And
Yeah.
they're also going to ask you a question about, tell me a time when you failed
Yes,
and
yes,
how
yes.
you handled it
Right,
and
right.
what you did. So be prepared for those kinds of things. Now, mind you, again, you don't want to have a, a memorized pat answer. You want to be able to talk about it freely.
Hmm.
Okay.
You mean
So,
so naturally, right?
yes, that's what I mean. Naturally.
Okay.
You don't want to say, oh, click the where I failed question. So I led a team into doing this and it failed. And so I had to pick up the pieces. Okay. You
Yeah.
don't want to look like your brain is going click, switch into the failed question and
You mean
answer.
you've memorized it, right? It's canned.
Exactly. Exactly. You
Huh.
don't want it to be canned. You don't want a canned answer. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
those weakness, those behavioral based questions that require a failure at the end, a negative result. That's another one that people tend to try to dance around, or either they may blame it on people on their, on their team.
no, you can't.
You
You
want to hear
have,
from that. You want to hear their failure, right?
yep. They want to hear your failure. They want to hear, because nobody is perfect.
Yeah.
Everybody screws up. Everybody.
Hmm.
Even the
Absolutely.
top guy in the company has screwed up at one time or another. And so therefore it's how you deal with the failure and how you deal with coming coming back from it, how you deal with regrouping your team, how you deal with it. That's the important thing.
So you're listening to the actions that the person takes, once that they failed, what actions did they take to try to correct the situation?
Right.
What did they
Or
learn
what did
from the
they
whole thing?
do to, if it was a failure in something that they were preparing for the client, how did they deal with that? What did they do to rectify the situation with the client? Those are the kinds of things that they want to see,
Yeah, yeah.
because everybody fails. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect.
Okay,
So
but
you
someone
have,
writes, yes, but what if the failure led to your termination?
it's rare.
Is
It
that
really is rare that somebody fails that spectacularly
mm,
that they get fired. And inevitably, you will fail and have to try and deal with the failure first. Nobody fails and someone comes up to you and goes, "Get out." Rare.
mhm,
Usually you fail and then you have to try and fix it. And then, or not only fix it, but fix it and or deal with the partner, deal with the client, deal with the
right.
somebody, and you get fired the next day or 5 hours later. But it's not, oh my God, you failed, you're fired, get out. You have to, even if it's a fireable offense, in the immediacy of it, what have you done to fix it or to stop
That's
it
what's
or to
important, right?
or
That's
to
what's
bring it to the attention of your superiors, even knowing that you will be fired? How did you handle it?
important.
So you can say that I fucked up, and even knowing that I was going to be fired, I
Hope
still
there are
did
no young
X,
children
Y,
listening here.
huh?
I hope that's never mind. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay, so we ready for number 9?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not following up.
Oh, yeah. So, other than those situations where somebody says, "Go away," you have to follow up. If you
Yeah.
send something somewhere, if you've asked for something, be kind, be nice,
Hmm.
follow up with a request. Or if you've met somebody and you say to them, "Let me follow up with you in 2 weeks and see what's going on," do it. Put it in your
Right.
calendar.
Exactly. The minute you say that you're going to do it, right?
Hmm. Absolutely.
Because the way I see it, if you're doing all this hard work, to get to the point where you either have a networking engagement or interview, or even, after the interview, if you don't follow up, then you're just putting all that hard work to waste. you know?
Exactly. Why did you bother in the first place?
And I think this is a bigger problem that, some job seekers have than others is
Yep.
following up,
Yep.
even though it could lead to great things.
Yep. Why'd you bother in the first place?
Okay, here's one. Okay, so this is not the last one, but we are running out of time. And I added a bonus one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is important.
Yeah.
You're not taking care of yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. There's the rate of mental illness is not only skyrocketing, it's becoming, at least in my profession, people are becoming so aware of it, it's ridiculous. And it's mental illness is different from burnout. People did not expect to be stuck at home this long.
right.
People did not expect to be stuck at home having to share their computer with their children while their children go to school.
Oh,
And
I
their
know. Oh my
spouse
God.
or the
Yeah,
spouse is now out of work and all sorts of stuff. It
yeah.
is a true problem. And yeah, it is a real
No, I
problem.
mean, what you just said about being at home and having to share the, internet connectivity with four other people, this is a real thing that some of my, clients are really struggling with, a real thing. So how do you take care of yourself? What is the best way to do this? I got to
I
say
don't
that
do the answer.
exercise, you know, exercise.
Peloton apparently is going gangbusters because it's something that you can bring into your house and everybody can do different kinds of things and you can get little snippets of it and
Hmm.
you can do a 30-minute ride here and a 10-minute. I don't know. Okay. I live alone with my dog, so she
You know what?
she doesn't
Also,
make me
okay.
do
So, and by the way, someone said best guest speaker you've ever had. I really enjoyed her honesty.
Thank you.
You are. I say, and pamper yourself too. And every once in a while, throw that pity party. You know what I mean? It's let it out.
Yeah.
That's a
So
tough one. This may be the toughest, I think, of what, job seekers are not doing to help themselves in the job search.
yeah, yeah. But even if look, when I was working in my office, sitting in my office all by myself on the computer, I would make it my business in the middle of the morning to take myself outside and
Mhm.
walk around the entire building block
Yeah.
just to get some fresh air so I wasn't, killing myself in my little airless office room. And if that's what you need to do now, go out, take a walk for a half an hour and come back, do it.
I got to read some of the comments, okay?
Yep.
Truly great session. I agree. I love Wendy. No something approach. Um, so, yes, great job, Wendy. Appreciate your honesty. Because let's face it. I mean, if we're going to help each other, then we have to be honest, right?
Yeah.
And that's what really drew me, to you on LinkedIn is your honesty.
Thank
You're
you.
what I call no bull, you know. So I want to thank you so much for
My
making this
pleasure.
really, in my mind, a great, great session. I really do, you
My
know.
pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. My pleasure.
Hey, by the way, would you live right in the city or do you live outside of
No, I live in the city.
Manhattan? Yeah.
I get out of the city on the weekends, but
Oh
I
yeah.
do live in the
Oh yeah.
city. I live in the
All
city.
right. Thank you so much, Wendy. Thank you for helping our people, you know. Bye,
My pleasure.
everyone. Hey,
Bye,
everyone, stay
everybody.
safe. Wendy, stay safe.
Be
Okay,
well.
everyone, stay safe.
Be well.
Yes.